Oh, thanks very much, everyone, for coming along. So if you don't know me, I'm Mike Goldsmith. I'm the Our Place Community Planning and Project Coordinator. I've been in this role about almost 3 years now. So really the purpose of today is to give an overview of what the Our Place Community Plans are, and I guess by way of example, some of the projects that have come out of that and how those get implemented. So I just realised that this talk is being videoed. Thanks, AJ. And so if you just keep the noise in the room so if you're putting your drink bottle down or whatever, just try and keep it, can really interfere with the sound. Thanks for that. That'd be good. So I'm just going to run through the 3 parts of my talk. First part is about how the community plans have been developed, where they came from, and how the process of actually creating them. The second part is just a very high-level overview of some of the projects and funding that has gone into those projects to date. And the third part is really just, as I say, some examples of how we actually implement, how we actually develop those projects. I guess probably the best way is I'm happy to take questions at the end of each of those parts, and then we have a more general discussion or other questions at the end. So we'll get underway. Thanks very much. So first part. So what is an Our Place plan? I guess where did they come from? How did we create them? They come. So it goes. The process goes right back to I think 2015, and at that point, the district, the council made a conscious decision that they were going to try and turn around some of the, negative or some of the economic conditions and the declining population that was in the district at that time. So that saw the development of the living and working in Clutha strategy, and that this diagram here, I guess, is that strategy in a nutshell. So it's got a range of components to it, including housing, healthy, safe communities, adapting to climate change, etc., etc. But I guess at the core of that strategy, it's about making the Clutha district a great place to live, work, and play. So that's the living and working strategy, and so as I say, it says here, so it's about actions and projects which help promote the Clutha district as a great place where people want to live, work, and invest. So I guess at that point in time, so 10 years ago now, I guess it was, if you think of a 3-legged stool, as often described. So the district had and still has pretty good supply of jobs. So there's work there for people, but so that's one leg of the stool. But the other legs are around housing. So it's great, all very well having jobs, but you need quality housing that people want to live in, right? And that was maybe in short supply at that point. Also, and amenities. So I guess that's the other thing. If you want people to work, live, and stay here, you've got to have stuff for them to do, right? Make it an interesting and a pleasant place to live. So that's, I guess, particularly in that last leg of the stool, is where this the community plan component of the strategy comes into place. So, makes sense. So we'll carry on. So in terms of developing those Our Place plans, obviously the Clutha district is a really diverse and a large area. So how do we actually engage with communities and try and look to develop and then implement these plans? So I guess the objective of what we're trying to achieve here, I guess, through these Our Place plans, developed in conjunction with the community, is about working together. So obviously council has a role to play, but they're community leaders and also going to play a major role in developing some of these projects. So it's about having that relationship, I guess, and improving that relationship between council and community. It's about maximising the value as well about what we do. Okay, so resources, funding, time are always going to be limited in terms of being able to do stuff, make improvements. So it's about making the most out of that. So how can we be most efficient and effective? And lastly, I guess going, really, what are we trying to achieve here? It's about positive reasons, that are going to encourage people to want to live and work in the Clutha district. So that's the point of these plans. What's the process? How do we actually get there? So it is quite a lengthy process. There's 4 main stages up there. All of these are approved and approved by councillors. They're engaged, especially the local councillors, as we develop these plans. First one, obviously, is around consulting. So we really, through these outpost plans, we sort of went to that next level, I guess, in terms of really doing everything we could to engage with these communities. So it's, and it's about us going to them, right, rather than expecting people to come to us. So we did all sorts of different types of events. We had cafe conversations, I think it was called. We went to schools, we went to workplaces. We tried all sorts of means to try and engage with people on their own turf. And just of note, around that consultation program, we had so we received 100 survey forms back. So part of the consultation process, we developed. We had 1,100 back. We had almost 10,000 feedback items. So that's separate pieces of feedback from people saying, these are their hopes and dreams. These are the things that they would like to achieve in their community. And dozens and dozens of events. This is quite a nice one that we had in Tuapeka Mouth, obviously. It's just really nice having conversations with people on their own turf. Some of them are much larger than this. So that's obviously in a nutshell, a lot of effort went into actually engaging with people, because that's, without that, we can't build a community plan. Second stage is to take all that feedback and analyse that and understand, quantify what people said. So this is just an example here showing some of the type of way that we did that through graphs, etc. So that all goes to councillors, makes it relatively easy to understand of that huge mass of feedback that we might receive. And it helps to sort of prioritise, start to see the priority projects coming through from what are most people really keen on. The next stage is sort of a bit boring, but it's sort of council land, if you like. It's about so project sheets, like quantifying that in a bit more detail, I guess, around what is the scope of some of these projects now, who's going to lead them, or what's the structure around that, is there any funding available, or are we going to have to go back and find ways of funding them as well. So that also goes to council for sign off, and then I guess once we've been through all of that, we eventually sign off our place plan. And we'll get to it in a minute, but there's now 10 of those across the Clutha district. So what's in that plan? Well, it obviously talks about the community, and it talks about that process a little bit, but really the key thing in these plans is these priority projects. So it's about taking all of that feedback, all of that direction that we received from people in the local community, and feeding that into a list of priority projects. And it's really based on what they told us. It's not the council saying you really need a whatever. It's very much based on what people are driven by people in those towns. So, as I said, we now have across the district 10 our place plans, and we've just finished the last one last year, about a year ago, which was our place Tairi Mouth. So these are basically chronological order from start to finish. It's been a huge process to get to this point, and just can't say enough that how that local involvement is absolutely critical to developing these plans and then implementing them. So just before I go on to the next stage, happy to take any questions about, I guess, that development process.
Oh, sorry, Goldsmith.
Yeah, my
question is, how many communities or township communities do you target to have those plans for? And how many are outstanding now from the 10 that you have?
Well, I guess, good question. I mean, I guess the 10 plans cover most of the places where people live and work in the Clutha district. Some of them are ward-based, for example, West Otago, Clinton, Clutha Valley wards, which are more rural or dispersed population. I guess some of them, like Milton, Waihola, townships within a ward. So I guess we felt that we've covered generally the district and the places where people might want to be doing stuff. But it doesn't exclude other areas as well. If there are smaller settlements that are actually willing to do stuff as well, they can still come under the process. Does that?
So just piggybacking off that. So is there any other plans you've got in the pipeline for any other areas, or you like this pretty much covers it?
I think we pretty much cover it
in
terms of our place. It's pretty comprehensive. I mean, I guess there could be more. There's always more maybe that you could do, but I think this is pretty good.
So you're not planning on doing a random it looks like it's coming to me, but there's nothing else you've got planned to do at this stage.
At this stage, no. So it was, the program was set quite a few years back in terms of the order and the where we're going to do these things. So but for example, the Catlins, I suppose, it covers the whole Catlins ward, right? And there are at least 3 settlements within that ward, right? So there are projects that relate to Punawea, Papitoai, Owaka. So they all fall within there. Questions around that? So, as I say, this is very high level, and I could bore you with lots of spreadsheets, but I won't. But how do we? How many? What do these projects look like? And how have they been funded? So, first thing to note, as I said, it's all about community, right? So currently I'm working with 38 different community groups across the district within those 10 plans, right? So they all have stood up and one way or the other and said, look, we want to lead a particular project that falls under that community plan banner. And those groups range from community boards, which are quite formal, structured groups, down to just community groups, I guess, that are incorporated, might be registered charity, down to just a few people, just some people who want to do a particular thing, just got some skills and want to stand up and do something. That's a lot of different people across the district who are really stepping up and trying to make improvements in their community. By my count, we've got about 72 projects completed so far across the district. So again, some big, some small. And for example, you may have heard of, or may be aware of, Diploma. Okay, but that came out of the Our Place program. Milton Main Street upgrade, which has just been finished now. Work to reduce the speed limit in Waihola, not a council project, but that was very much in their community plan. There was an upgrade recently of the Kaitangata boat ramp, which was very successful. Clinton Playground has done a great job there just recently as well. Got some really cool equipment there now, right on the State Highway 1. And the Clutha Gold Trail. So these are all projects that are enlisted. So and they have developed and morphed and changed over time from maybe what was originally envisioned or considered, but there's been completed amongst all the other many other stuff as well. So that's very high level projects. In terms of funding those things, of course, because it costs money to do stuff. One of the benefits of this program, in that with it being community led, is that we can access a whole range of other different sources of funding. So they're not all council funded, right? So some are, but generally we can access others. So whether that's from the Community Trust, or the central government funding, or just local fundraising through a sausage sizzle, or raffles, etc. So again, this is approximate. I think we've managed to access through this program at least 29 million in other sources of funding. Okay, so that's not council funding, which is that goes along, and I would make that go a long, long way. Alongside that, there has been roughly, by my count, about a $27 million investment by council so far, and that's probably a little bit small. You might see on the video, but broken down, about 11.2 million of that has gone towards infrastructure type projects, generally council led. About 10.5 million towards major new facilities. So, Diploma is a good example of that. And then there's another almost 3 million at the top there, which is just other community facilities. So, for a relatively small council investment, we've managed to achieve a huge amount, I think, across the whole district. Just take a step back and look at all of the projects that have been completed and are still being worked on now. Any questions about that? I guess about projects and about how the funding works.
Yeah, so of these things, you obviously create draft documents and they go to council.
Yeah.
And so is that quite the key point of where you ask the council for money pretty much to fund all the different projects in there?
Well, that's a good question. So
I'm trying to understand how you actually get them to agree to money.
Yeah. So certainly in recent years, the last 4 or 5 plans, what we've done is tried to align the development of the plan, of the outplace plan, with the annual plan or the long-term plan process, because that's obviously when funds can be allocated. So we don't want to be going out and getting people all excited and saying, let's go, and then, oh, wait, we haven't got money to do this. You have to wait a year.
Yeah.
So ideally, we try and finish that do the outplace over the summer, and then we just move into autumn, April, May. I generally request, along with that, some funding, and it's generally pretty small, to just like seed funding, I guess, for some of those priority projects, so that we can actually start doing stuff. It might be doing some research or some investigations or whatever is required, and engaging a contractor or a specialist to do some work, so that we can actually get started. But often, obviously, there's additional funding is required, and the community will often lead that in terms of getting that across the board.
Thank you.
Any other questions around funding and myriad projects across the district? Cool. All right, we shall move on. So, how do we actually on the ground make some of these projects happen? So that there's probably as many different ways of making them happen as there are projects. But I guess that's my job, is to work with people in council and also out in the community to actually get these things up and running. Primarily, it takes someone to step up out there and say, we want to do this. That's the first step. But then how do we actually roll that out? Well, it can vary. So there's 3 main models, I guess, that we use. The first one is where it's primarily community-led. So it's going to be really community leaders or groups stepping up, say they want to lead a particular project. Fundraising is just about all led by the community, and they can do this any number of ways. They can do that. Councils kind of be providing support, guidance, possibly some seed funding, as I said before, and that's, I guess, my role. But also there are many other people and staff that I draw on with their skills to support particular projects, whatever that might be, around roading or parks and reserves, etc., etc. Often, but not always, on council administered land. It doesn't have to be on council reserve or council owned land with these types of projects. So just by way of example, for this type of project, I've got the Lawrence Bike Club going great guns and developing another bike network in Lawrence. photo here, sort of downhill tracks that they've made, but they're doing a lot of other work as well. The first 2 years of that project, there was no council funding, and they're yet to actually draw on any council funding. But obviously, there's been quite a process to help them to get that up and running, including working with city forests, obviously, because it's on land that they lease. Yeah, so yeah, our role is smaller, but it's still important. The second type of way that these projects can develop is more of a joint process, and often there's normally a reason for that, and it's normally around that it's a key parcel of council land. And I guess I could skip to the bottom here. The example I use is the proposed, still underway, but a dog park at Taylor Park in Milton. So this is a critical reserve in the district. A lot of people use it. A lot of people, have an invested interest in it. So that's, in this case, or this type of project, is more of a joint management structure where community leaders and council working together. Fundraising again led by the community. Again, we can help them with that. But we play a more active role, I guess, in terms of guiding that project along. And the third one, I guess, is fairly obvious. It's where it's just purely council-led. And the example here is recent example is the Main Street upgrades that are been happening in Milton. So these are things that are undertaken and managed by council staff, or we actually do ourselves. Still going to be a level of community engagement depending on the project. In terms of giving opportunity for people to be involved in that process, but council's going to be the one that actually does it and funds it. Might be some central government funding as well that plays a key role depending on what it is. And yeah, obviously there's key infrastructural facilities for particular towns. And the council assets really, I guess, things that council is primarily responsible for. So there we go. There's community plans in a nutshell. Very, very quick. We'll spend less than half an hour. Happy to take any other questions on any of that.
I have a question. I really enjoyed that and learned a lot. Is it possible to get, Christine has mentioned recently on subject module, they're creating modules for training. I think this would be a great module for training, just for people to understand the basics of what happens. It would be a great resource. So I encourage you to put forward to Christina to do that. Learned a lot. Thank you. Yep.
Cool. I guess the last thing that comes to my mind around all this is it's, I guess I'm often the one that's out there talking to community leaders, but there's a whole lot of people like yourself, and I'm always pestering people right across the whole organisation for advice and input into these things. So it really is a good way of bringing a whole lot of people together to achieve a pretty good outcome fairly efficiently. So,
I'd just like to make a comment I've made to you in the past. Council has a very organic ecosystem of ways of doing things. Like, for instance, has a number of statutory responsibilities. But this particular, and I might management plan, reserve management planning and annual planning and long-term planning and various other things. But Mike's role and this program is really critical in making sure this connects to the community. And in my assessment, it brings enormous social capital to the community in that it builds relationships and makes all those parts work so much better because people can see the elements that matter to them being taken into account of in the broader context of council's core business, which is, of course, statutory responsibilities with respect to infrastructure and water, etc. And this all comes together in terms of integrating with council's living and working in Clutha strategy. And Mike's done an amazing job over the last few years leading that. He has the respect of council and the community, and the staff he works with. So thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you.